Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friends of Jingsando. I'm your host, BH Kim. Now, let me briefly introduce today's program. Our guided meditation session will focus on practicing dynamic meditation. Additionally, for Jingsando's key teaching, there will be a brief talk on the autumn gaebyeon. Please turn on your video cameras as usual and remember to leave your comments. Now, let's take a moment to review your feedback from the previous session. First, I have comments from Riddhi. She said, when I was meditating, I felt as if I was sitting in a field of positivity, where the sky is full of peace, and chanting a mantra was my favorite part. Thank you, Riddhi. Your comments deeply touched me. I was particularly drawn to your use of the phrase field of positivity. The idea of receiving energy of positivity gives me joy. I truly appreciate your beautiful expression. Next, we have a question from Jaiwanti. What are all the steps we can practice as individuals to embrace Sangseng? That's a wonderful question, Jaiwanti. Even a compelling story loses its meaning if we don't put it into practice. In Jingsando's scriptures known as the Dojeon, Sangjem revealed the way to practice Sangseng, the virtue of speaking well of others. Regardless of who we are and what we do in life, we can easily practice Sangseng by speaking well of others. Sangjem said the following, among the virtues, the virtue of speaking well of others is paramount. If you speak well of others, your words become a blessing which enables them to thrive, and this blessing overflows and eventually becomes an even greater blessing that flows back to you. If you speak ill of others, your words can injure them and bring them to ruin, and this harm overflows and eventually becomes a greater misfortune that flows back to you. Sangseng can be practiced in many ways, and one of the most important acts is speaking well of others. This simple yet powerful practice fosters harmony among people and generates positive energy for everyone. Now, before we begin our meditation, I'd like to share some insightful words with you. Today, I have chosen a few passages from the book Inner Communication. I read them to you. Changing myself is changing the world. There are three types of mental strength, all interconnected with one's own self. Mental strength encompasses the capacity to effectively manage oneself, self-regulation, navigate interpersonal relationships, interpersonal skills, and tackle worldly matters with determination, self-motivation. By strengthening our mental resilience, we embark on a transformative journey within ourselves. As we change ourselves, we, in turn, contribute to changing the world. Every success and problem in the world ultimately originates from within oneself. The mindset we embrace and the actions we choose to take shape the outcomes we experience. In other words, changing ourselves is the beginning of making the world a better place. Now, let us begin our meditation, which has the power to profoundly change ourselves. Here's our meditation guide who will lead us toward inner peace. Let's welcome Miss Kelly Jo.
Welcome everyone to the Friends of Jinsando meditation class. I'm Kelly Jo, your meditation guide. Thank you everyone for leaving great questions and comments on Google Form. And I apologize if I missed anyone's names last week. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly respond to a question from last week. Here's Anushureya's question. Concentrating while meditating still feels a little difficult. So how can I improve? I completely understand this struggle. Maintaining concentration during meditation can be challenging, especially for beginners. So I like to share 2 tips for improving your concentration based on the teachings of the Jongdosa님, who is the Supreme Tao Master of Jinsando. Here's the first tip. It is essential to focus on your lower abdomen. Do you remember the abdominal breathing technique introduced during the previous session? Apply this technique during your meditation to improve your focus. To do this, place your hands on your lower abdomen and feel it expanding and contracting like a balloon as you inhale and exhale. Chant the mantra in your mind while experiencing this breathing. The second tip involves perceiving each word of the Teochew mantra as pure light that enters the orb of light in your lower danjan. Each word of the mantra is a seed mantra representing a specific vibration and energy. Focus on the sound of each mantra word and visualize each vibration resonating inside the orb of light in your lower danjan. In the early stages of meditation, it's natural to experience random thoughts that disrupt your concentration. Recognize this as a normal part of your meditation experience. Whenever your concentration falters due to random thoughts, redirect your attention back to your breathing or mantra chanting. With repeated practice, your meditation will progress to higher levels. Thank you once again for your questions and comments. Now, let's begin today's meditation. Before we begin, let's first calm our minds. Please sit with your back straight. You can sit on the floor with your legs crossed or sit on a chair. Please gently close your eyes. Let's engage in deep breathing while listening to relaxing music. As you inhale, imagine that the pure and bright energy of the universe enters you, filling your entire body. As you exhale, imagine that all the trauma in your mind and all the energies of illness and darkness leaving your body. Were you at one with your breathing, and did you experience calm? When you engage in deep breathing, you can calm the energy in your body. Let us now engage in Om Hum meditation. Om came into being when all vibrations became one at the beginning of the universe. Hum embodies all the sounds of the universe. Hum evolved from Om. Om and Hum are sacred sounds. Let us breathe slowly and deeply. When you exhale, make the sound Om. Exhale like so. Om. When you inhale, make the sound Hum in your mind. The vibrations of Om and Hum will refresh all the cells in your body. Let us now engage in Teolju Mantra meditation. But first, let me introduce another meditation method. It is movement meditation, in which you move your body freely. I think most people associate meditation with sitting quietly in perfect stillness. But there is another very important form of meditation. It's meditation that requires dynamic movement, so it is called dynamic meditation. Dynamic meditation entails moving your body freely to unblock energy pathways and improve energy circulation in your body. You can also use your hands to rub or tap ailing parts of your body to improve energy circulation and begin healing. Dynamic meditation can be practiced with complete freedom in the privacy of your own space. You can turn on Teolju Mantra dynamic meditation music and move your body, focusing on the sound and rhythm of the music to resolve energy blockages and to enable healing. As your body goes through dynamic movements, your mind will, in fact, become calm and grounded. Now, let's first engage in Teolju Mantra dynamic meditation to strengthen our lower danjan. Move your hands naturally like this, imagining that you are pushing energy into your lower danjan. If your arms get tired, you can bring your hands together and move them like so. Now, listening to vibrant group chanting of the Teolju Mantra, let's engage in dynamic meditation. But first, keep your eyes open to see how I perform dynamic meditation and follow along to practice dynamic meditation. Are you getting comfortable with dynamic meditation and the music? For the next 10 minutes, let us together engage in dynamic meditation.
Ni
How was your dynamic meditation? If your concentration was good, you might have felt tingling in your palms or warmth in your body or in your lower danjan. Don't be disappointed if you didn't feel anything. If you meditate every day, the energy pathways in your body will be cleansed and you may feel energy flowing in your body. Let us now engage in dynamic meditation to cleanse our penetrating vessel. Deep breathing is a means of cleansing your penetrating vessel when you engage in non-movement or still meditation. Through bodily movements of dynamic meditation, you can also cleanse your penetrating vessel. Using your hands, gesture as though you're raising or lowering your penetrating vessel while chanting the Teochew mantra. When you inhale, move your hands naturally while imagine that you're raising energy from your perineum to your crown chakra. When you exhale, move your hands like so while imagining that you're lowering energy from your crown chakra to your perineum. When you breathe deeply, your dynamic meditation becomes more fluid, improving the cleanse of your penetrating vessel. Let's meditate for 10 minutes.
취음취태울 천상원군 humni치야 니함니사파 취음취태울 천상원군 humni치야 우레 hum니함니사파 취음취태울 천상원군 humni치야 우레 hum니함니사파 태울 천상은 humni치야 노래 hum니함니사파 취음취태울 천상은 humni치야 노래 hum니함니사파 취음취태울 천상은 humni치야 노래 hum니함니사파 취음취태울 천상원군 humni치야 hum니함니사파 취음취태울 천상원군 humni치야 노래 hum니함니사파 취음취태울 천상원군 humni치야 노래 hum니함니사파
Before we end today's meditation, let's have a short period of silence. Let's breathe deeply, appreciating the fullness of light in our lower danjan and penetrating vessel. Today, we perform dynamic meditation together. Through dynamic meditation, you can eliminate random thoughts and bring your mind to complete focus. Many of today's people experience blockages in their bodies, energy pathways, so they suffer from poor energy circulation. Dynamic meditation can help these people unblock and cleanse their energy pathways. And still meditation can help them attain a state of peaceful tranquility. When you are engaged in still meditation, you may find yourself losing focus. When this happens, you should briefly engage in dynamic meditation to regain your focus. And so, it is important to balance your meditation practice by making use of both still meditation and dynamic meditation. We gather for meditation just once a week, so I hope you devote at least a little bit of time every day to meditation. When you meditate diligently, you will experience your mind and body becoming cleaner and brighter. Let me end today's meditation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, for your wonderful guidance. Today, we had an opportunity to delve into the practice of dynamic meditation. Personally, I found dynamic meditation to be really beneficial, especially during moments when I struggle to concentrate during meditation. Let's move on to the next program. It is time to learn about the key teaching of Jingsandu. In our previous session, we explored the concepts of Sangguk, mutual conflict, and Sangseng, mutual life borrowing. Today's talk is on the autumn 개벽. Please welcome Ms. Kyung-gyu Lim.
Thank you, BH. Hello, my name is Kyung-gyu Lim, and I'm a practitioner and teacher with Jingsandu, which is based in Daejeon, South Korea. Before I begin my talk today, I'd like to respond to very interesting questions from two individuals. Let me go to the first question. It comes from Janina. She asked, how can the seasons of the cosmic year be so well determined as time periods? And how can anyone tell that from here, cosmic summer or autumn begin? Very good questions. Do we have a cosmic year clock, or do we have a cosmic year calendar? No. But it is possible to have a general understanding of the four cosmic seasons. And in terms of the cosmic seasons, I mentioned to you that the cosmic spring and summer are the periods of humanity's birth and growth. So by studying where we are in this world, I think we can intuitively figure out that we are in the cosmic summer. In fact, we're near the end of the cosmic summer. Why? One is the human population. For many thousands of years, people were just scattered across the globe, numbering just a few. But I think over 100 years ago, our human population reached over 1 billion. And that number increased exponentially. We're now over, I think, 8.5 billion and rising. So the human population is one sign. The other is vast advancements in civilization, science and technology, as well as spirituality. We've come a long way in many areas. I think we've become a little jaded, a little cynical about our sense of spirituality, but it's all there. And they were the advancements on the spiritual side happened through many teachings, through many saints and philosophers who came into this world to enlighten the human population. And science and technology, as you know, is incredibly advanced, and there's no end in sight. The fact that we are talking to each other by Zoom is one sign of this advancement. And the other is our ability to harm each other. We have weapons of mass destruction, WMD, nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons, that could just wipe us out in very short order. War has been around for thousands of years, but our capability to destroy one another is at the highest peak, I believe. So these are telltale signs that we are at the pinnacle of Sangguk, as I mentioned last week, and the world is under a clock. We're near the end of the cosmic summer. Now, on the screen, I'm showing you an image of a philosopher who was a cosmologist and a numerologist who lived in Korea in the late 19th century. He founded a philosophy, a principle called 정력, right change. And he authored a book by that same title. So very complex, very profound, but one important central message is about the calendar of our year. As you know, currently, we go under a calendar of 365 and 1/4 days per year. Why? The Earth wobbles a little bit because it's about 23.5 degrees tilted in one direction. It wobbles around the sun in a slightly elliptical path. Now, Kim Il-bu, that renowned philosopher, revealed through cosmology and numerology that in the coming times, in the later heaven, at the onset of the later heaven, the Earth will lose that wobble and it will orbit around the sun in a perfectly circular path, resulting in a new calendar of 360 days per year. That's 360 as in 360 degrees around the circle. So basically it means harmony. Going back to Janina's second question, and I want to just kind of tweak that question. So how do we know when the cosmic summer ends and when the cosmic autumn begins? Well, one very important turning point is what this philosopher Kim Il-bu revealed, that the Earth's orbit around the sun will change from a slightly elliptical path to a perfectly circular path, giving us a new time, 360 days per year. That sort of answers the second question. Anushrya asked, can the Sangseng period be of complete harmony, or is it just a prediction? Now, harmony is possible when heaven and earth themselves change. Kim Il-bu, the philosopher, revealed that, yes, earth will change because its relationship to the sun will change. Earth itself will be more harmonious, and we will have a more harmonious time of 360 days per year, meaning that everything will change on Earth, weather patterns, energy circulation, so many things. So it will be physically possible to experience Sangseng, harmony, oneness, in the later heaven because Earth will change beforehand during a period that is called Kebel, which is my topic for today. So let me move on. Let's keep their questions in mind because I think we have to think about those questions as we study more of the teachings, gain perspective and knowledge. So these these questions can be answered clearly in our minds. So let me move on to the main talk for today. But first, let me do a very short review of last week. I talked about Sanguk and Sangseng. In terms of the word Sanguk, it means to mutually constrain or to mutually oppose or conflict. I mentioned to you that under Sanguk's reign of conflict and competition, humanity experienced incredible growth, even as billions and billions of people across the world and across time suffered bitterness and grief. Now, in terms of the word Sangseng, that means to mutually nurture or to better one another. Sangseng signifies harmony, openness, laughter, mutual respect, benevolence, righteousness, and becoming one with one another. Sangseng will be the way of humanity in the later heaven. So keep these ideals in mind as we build and build with these talks and with these short introductions. So in terms of my talk today, I mentioned to you that I will talk about Kaebyeok. Kaebyeok. What is Kaebyeok? Kaebyeok signifies a great opening of a new world, as well as a great beginning of a new era. So space and time. Broadly speaking, now in the context of the cosmic year, Kaebyeok is the transition from one cosmic season to the next. Well, since there are 4 cosmic seasons, there are 4 instances of Kaebyeok. But the 2 most important Kaebyeoks are the ones that begin the cosmic spring and the cosmic autumn. The Kaebyeok that begins the cosmic spring is called the spring Kaebyeok. And it is also called the early heaven Kaebyeok because it marks the beginning of the early heaven. To present-day humanity, that is us, the most compelling Kaebyeok is the one that begins the cosmic autumn. This Kaebyeok is called the autumn Kaebyeok, which is the topic of today's talk. It is also called the later heaven Kaebyeok because it begins the later heaven. Now, let me focus on the autumn Kaebyeok because that is the one that humanity will soon encounter. The autumn Kaebyeok, in short, signifies the rebirth and renewal of heaven, earth, and humanity. In other words, the autumn Kaebyeok marks the end of the old heaven, earth, and humanity, and the beginning of the new heaven, earth, and humanity. Now, at the time of the autumn Kaebyeok, 3 major events will happen: global war, mysterious disease, and massive changes on Earth. And why will these events occur? Well, they will happen due to the Sanguk of the early heaven. In fact, Sanguk will be extremely intense near the end of the cosmic summer. So heaven and earth will seethe with conflicts that will lead to war, as described in the Tojan. Now, today, I'm going to recite for you many passages from the Tojan, because I think it would be helpful to you to hear the words, how the Tojan portrays these 3 important events: global war, mysterious disease, and massive changes on Earth. Let me read you the first Tojan verse. It says, "At the age of the Kaebyeok of heaven and earth, how could there be no wars? In the coming times, there will be wars throughout heaven and earth." Yes, so the Tojan is very clear that at the end of the cosmic summer, there will be war, not only on earth, but in heaven as well, throughout heaven and earth. Now, war will be followed by a catastrophic disease, as is described in the Tojan. It says, "At the coming of the time, a world war will erupt. At that time, war will not be stopped by human actions. It will be stopped only by a disease." So, what is this disease, this catastrophic, mysterious disease? Here's how the Tojan describes the disease. All the early heavens' malevolent karma and all the spirits' bitterness, grief, and vengeance are combining to create the illness of the world, which will one day manifest as the mysterious disease. There has been no illness of such magnitude in the cosmic spring and summer. When the season transitions to the cosmic autumn, retribution for the sins of the cosmic spring and summer will spawn the terrible disease. The Tojan goes on. It says, when the catastrophic disease strikes, it will first invade the pharmacies and hospitals and humanity will face complete annihilation. At that time, what could possibly save you? Do not seek precious medicine. Instead, devote yourself to understanding Uitong solely with sincerity, awakeness, and faithfulness. So these are really grim descriptions of war and disease, and they will be accompanied by massive changes on earth, as described in the following passage. When earthquakes become frequent in the world, know that Kyebyuk is nearing. You will suffer a world in which sea becomes land and land becomes sea. When Kyebyuk arrives, mountains will be overturned and the ground will split open, swallowing up everything. Such a sight will be utterly horrifying. Some people will be buried underneath the rubble of overturned mountains. Some will fall into the gaping fissures of the splitting ground. The world will descend into chaos. When you return to the place where a house stood just the day before, you will find a mountain instead. Now, let me return to the part about the mysterious disease because it is so important and it's of such a massive magnitude. It says here in the Dojan, a disciple asked Sangjinim, when the mysterious disease sweeps across the world, which country will it afflict first? Sangjinim revealed, it will break out in Joseon first, because it is in Joseon that the Tao of deliverance from this catastrophic disease lies. I mentioned 2 weeks ago that Sangjinim is the supreme being who incarnated into this world and later returned to his throne in heaven. I will speak about him next week. His human incarnation is absolutely important. And also, in the passage I just read to you, this Kyebyuk by disease will break out in Joseon or Korea first. Here's another passage about the breakout of the mysterious disease. In the future, when the catastrophic disease breaks out in Kunchang, the place of its origination, it will spread in circles for 7 days and then leap toward the northwest. By that time, the situation will have become desperate. The disease will attack Joseon for 49 days and then devastate the world for 3 years. There will be 3 years of utter chaos. Yes, this is very grim and very graphic. So it's very difficult to talk in gentle terms about the 3 major events that will happen at the time of the autumn Kyebyuk. But I think it's important to have some awareness of what is to be expected and how these things are described in our teachings. But I also want to remind you that it's absolutely important to remember that Kyebyuk will be only a brief transition period between what? The early heaven and the later heaven. The coming Kyebyuk, or the coming autumn Kyebyuk, will be the passage into the later heaven, as revealed in the following Dojan passage. After the passage of Kyebyuk, a magnificent world will arise, ushering in the destiny of the later heavens 50,000 years. It will be the age of the paradise of immortality, in which humans and spirits will live in the company of one another. So, 3 major events at the time of the autumn Kyebyuk: global war, mysterious disease, and massive changes on earth. Now, these are very dire. They result from the massive order of Sanguk that will end the early heaven. But from the ashes of the global war will arise a new civilization a new beginning for humanity. When the earth changes with such, pain, so dramatically, land becoming sea and sea become land, what will arise will be a new world of harmony. And after the mysterious disease passes, what will happen is the arrival, the advent of new humanity. So Kyebyuk, on one hand, is a very painful process of transition. On the other hand, it marks a new beginning. And this topic deserves, I think, more discussion. So I'll talk more about the other side of Kyebyuk 2 weeks from now. So let me wrap up today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your insightful lecture, Mr. Lim. Now, let's take a moment for your comments and questions. If you'd like to share your comments or if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Anyone? Okay. Wait. Then let us conclude today's session. We look forward to hearing your thoughts once again as your Vansika, yay! Hi.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
네, 안녕하세요. Actually, firstly, I would like to really thank all the mentors for organizing such an informative sessions. Through these sessions, I realized that there is so much more to learn, and these sessions have been they prove to be a doorway for many such fascinating topics and principles. One thing which I like to mention is that the topic of Kyebyuk reminded me of something which is very similar, which we believe in our Hindu religion. That is the presence of various yugs. Like according to that, we are currently in the Kal Yuga, and when it will arrive its end, there will be a lot of war, destruction, disease, and catastrophe. So it really reminded me of that, and also the practices like dynamic meditation and all, they really changed my perspective of meditation for good. And I believe the more if I practice these routines more diligently, it will have a very long lasting impact on my mind. So I just really want to thank you for organizing such a fascinating topics, such sessions on these fascinating topics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanshika. Thank you for mentioning that. I just want to comment that different people over time develop different views about nature, about change affecting humanity. So there's great wisdom and insight. I think there's a lot of commonality in understanding where we are now as humanity and what will come to us. So yes, I think what you shared with us is absolutely relevant. I think it adds to the discussion, and I think there's plenty of room for dialogue in the future. So thanks for sharing.
And Asha?
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, I want to say thank you, teacher. The meditation session is really good, and the dynamic meditation. This is really helpful for me, because whenever I try to concentrate, I'm always distracted. But this is improve my concentration, and I'm comfortable to do the meditation session. And sir, this Kyebyuk, I think this is really deep for me to understand. I think I need some time to understand all these things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Asha.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, the topic of Kyebyuk is indeed big, very powerful, and it involves a lot of understanding. So what I just did was just give you a very small taste of Kebyuk. Very serious matter and something to study deeply if you're interested. But you're right, it's something big. It's not easy to put a finger on it immediately. So thanks for sharing.
Then, thank you, everyone. Let us conclude today's session. We look forward to hearing your thoughts once again, as your feedback is greatly valued. I enjoy reading all of your comments, and I'm sorry I can't share them all during our gatherings. Nevertheless, please remember to leave your comments on Google Form. I encourage you to practice the meditation you learned today as part of your daily routine to experience inner peace and tranquility. Until we meet again next week, take care. Bye. See you next time.
week.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
so much.
It was nice to meet
Thank
you
you.
again.
See you.
다음 주에 만나요.